Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Jared here with another concert review. This is going to be another podcast and a very random concert. Guns N' Roses at the Nationwide Arena, Columbus, Ohio, United States of America, November 25th, 2002. So, this is the lineup with Buckethead, Robin Fink, Richard Fortus as Dizzy, Brain, Chris Pittman, Tommy Stinson, and then you have Axl with the braids. So this is a very weird looking lineup, and right now my favorite lineups over the years of Guns N' Roses have fluctuated, but like as of right today, this is like my favorite lineup of the band. Um, I think it was just because like I'm such a big Axl fan, and like this is when the band was more centrally focused on Axl. So I really enjoyed this era, and he was still crazy. Um, Definitely still had tons of moments during the concerts where he would rant and rave about things, walk offs, even another riot that happened. It was just a very interesting time, I'm sure. I mean, I was alive at this time, but I didn't get into Guns N' Roses until about 2 years after this, when I was like, I don't know, 6, 7 years old. Anyway, I just was thinking recently about sometimes when I'm locked in at work, I think about the Mr. Brownstone performance from this Columbus, Ohio show, um, because I don't know, Axl just has this badass like walk, this badass strut that he was doing after the solo, and I just think about how much I love that clip of him strutting like that. I know that's super random and super obscure, but it's definitely something I've thought about over the years. It's just that particular clip. So I was like watching the Mr. Brownstone performance recently, and just wanting to see that little clip of his strut or whatever, and it got me thinking, like, man, I kind of want to go back and just watch the whole entire concert. I don't remember for sure if I've seen this entire concert from start to finish when I was growing up and like I was at like the peak of my fandom with this band. Um, I thought I might have it on DVD, but I actually have the Boston 2002 show on DVD. But you can find this concert on YouTube. Um, it's nice that we can still look these things up and watch these bootlegs anytime we want, basically just on demand. It's nice to not have them being taken down by GNR, like they have with a lot of other videos over the last few years. So it was really cool to just throw this concert on, and I just wanted to give a little review for it. Sorry for the super long intro, but that's definitely what was on my mind in relation to all that. All right, so basically, this is a fan recording video. It's a dude. Well, I assume it's a dude. It could be a female. I don't know. But he's up in the nosebleeds, and it looks like he has an actual video camera, like a tape, like he has like tapes in it and shit. Because it's very good quality. Um, Cell phones, I think, were becoming new and more modernized, and more people were beginning to have them at the time. But I still think in this era, in 2002, it was still like a lot of video cameras and cameras in general and stuff like that. But anyway, the show starts off with Welcome to the Jungle. And when I hear those opening notes of Welcome to the Jungle with this particular version of the band, I remember it always, like, even to this day, it just sounds weird. It sounds different. Like, obviously, there's no Slash anymore at the time. And it just sounds different. That's the best way I can describe it. But yeah, they would start all these shows back in the day with Welcome to the Jungle. They currently in 2026 opened with Welcome to the Jungle, um, but they went a while without opening with Welcome to the Jungle. I think the last time before that was in '06 and '07, really. But anyway, open with Welcome to the Jungle. I talked about Axl's braids and everything. So this is interesting. There's like two parts of the 2002 tour. They had the section where they went over and they did some stuff in like Leeds and Pukkelpop and some stuff over in Asia. I think they might have done like, I don't remember for sure, but they did a few shows over there. And like Axl was wearing jerseys. He had his hair completely braided at this point, and he was wearing the bandana. So they also did the MTV Music Awards around that time. This was the second part of the tour where they were doing a little North American stuff. And Axl looked a little different. He wasn't wearing the bandana anymore. They did It's So Easy. And man, I just love hearing the Buckethead solos on these songs. Like, those are always super cool. I think Robin Finck is a great guitarist too. And it was also interesting just on some of these solos during the concert. Sometimes that they would like trade off a solo in a song. And like Robin Finck would do the first part and then Buckethead would do the second part. And I found it funny at times, just like sometimes when they do their solos side by side, it makes me think like, oh my God, Buckethead just blew him out of the water with that solo. So that was something that I definitely found interesting on this rewatch, or maybe first watch from start to finish. But anyway, yeah, number 3, Mr. Brownstone. Like I said, that I always think about that clip. Super awesome. It's like such a random moment and such a random concert that like resonated with me. Live and Let Die. Axl did great on the high notes on this one, but overall his voice is very Mickey Mouse. These were kind of like the first years that we were hearing Axl with the Mickey Mouse voice, but compared to today, I think his Mickey Mouse in 2002 was more powerful, more energetic. I still think he has some power today, but it just seemed easier for him in 2002 to like belt out some of these high notes. And I just think about Live and Let Die. Did fantastic on those high notes, super memorable part of the concert. They did Knocking on Heaven's Door. And I really love Buckethead solo and Knocking on Heaven's Door at the end. Then they did Think About You. What I think of when I think About You, I always thought Think About You is an underrated song. I like it. I wouldn't say I love it, but it's typically a song that people look at on Appetite for Destruction. They're like, this song kind of sucks. Like, it's not nearly as good as the rest of the material. And like, I mean, I can agree to an extent, but they were playing it on this 2001, 2002 tour. And it just makes me think about the current tour here in 2026 when they actually brought it back after like 20 years. All right, You Could Be Mine. So up to this point, I mean, this is the 7th song. They haven't played one new song yet. It's just all the old material. And I'm sure, like, I know people at the time were like thinking, some people were thinking like, you know, if you're gonna play this much old material, you might as well just get the guys who wrote it and, you know, make it work. And why do we need basically a cover band with Axl to hear the old material? But Axl and Slash were beefing hard at the time. It was basically Axl versus Slash and Duff. And like around this time is the time that Slash and Duff were getting together with Scott Weiland and Dave Kushner and basically getting Velvet Revolver started. But they did, like I said, Think About You, You Could Be Mine, Sweet Child of Mine, Out to Get Me, and then the 10th song, we're 10 songs in now, and then they play the song Madagascar. This is a song that like I have like always really liked for sure, but for whatever reason it was either early this year or late last year I started becoming like in love with this song like out of nowhere. So it was it's a song that I really really love now, but at the time it was brand new. It's funny because like it's already been like multiple decades since like some of these songs came out, and at the time they were just brand new material, but I thought they did a great job in Madagascar. Axl sounded very similar to how he did in the 2002 VMAs, but then they did November Rain, 11th, and after that was one of my favorite parts of the whole show, Buckethead guitar solo. Absolutely love Buckethead. I think out of all the artists in my life that I've seen, I've been to a lot of concerts. I think I've been to more Buckethead concerts than any other concert. And I discovered him through Guns N' Roses. But anyway, awesome just to watch his solo, him doing the nunchucks, him doing the robot dance, him and Brain just kind of jamming, and yeah, Buckethead just shredding, doing some finger picking, just the different songs like the Star Wars theme, stuff like that. And then he did Old MacDonald Had a Farm, and then he like recorded himself doing it, and he basically had that clip of him playing that song over and over again as he did Toy Time. Cool to see him do Toy Time. It was also like throughout, there was like one part in the show, I don't remember exactly when it was, but Axel did pull Buckethead to the front of the stage and like talk to him, and Axel was talking about basically how Buckethead, one of his family members, is an Ohio State Buckeyes fan, and Axel was wearing a Buckeyes jersey to start the show. I think he had a couple of them actually. But anyway, the point of this segment of the show is just to like make the connection, I guess. And it was interesting. I was like thinking, okay, he's really talking a lot about the Buckeyes, and I was like, and he was talking like they were really good or something too. So I was like, I need to look it up and see if like the Buckeyes won national championship that year. And sure enough, 2002, I guess they did. So very fresh in everyone's minds. This is late in the year, so it had to have already happened at that point. But yeah, I guess Axel's a Buckeyes fan, which I never really knew that. And I was wondering what the frickin' jersey was at the start of the show, and it took me a little while to realize it was Buckeyes. But yeah, he wore another jersey or big sweatshirt later in the show. I'm not 100% sure what was on that. That might have been like a hockey jersey. Yeah, I'm not sure. If you know, let me know in the comments. That'd be great. So anyway, Buckethead's guitar solo, definitely one of the best moments of the whole night. Then they did Rocket Queen, Street of Dreams. It was at the time it was called The Blues. Once again, it was awesome to see a new song. And then they did Chinese Democracy, the self-titled track from the upcoming album. And man, I was really intrigued with Chinese Democracy because I was like, I never realized how good Axl sounded on Chinese Democracy back in these days. He was using Axl has so many different voices, and he was really using his like, I think people call it like his mid range or something. I don't know, but he uses this like strainy voice on this song, and it doesn't look like it's painful to him or anything, but it sounds really good. It sounds kind of like old Axl, and he had a lot of power behind it. So it's very interesting how good he sounded on that song, I thought. Then they did Patience. And when I think of Patience and I think of Guns N' Roses in 2002, I think it was in Detroit at the Palace of Auburn Hills. Like they got to this point of the show, and like midway through Patience, Axl throws the mic up like 100 feet in the air, hits the stage, and he just walks off. That's the end of the show. So that's what I was thinking about when I was watching Patience. But man, I don't know. It was good to hear Patience again. I feel like I haven't heard that in a long time, and never been a huge Patience fan, but I think I have a better appreciation for it after this concert got me back into it a little bit. Then they did Night Train, 17, and I always found the Night Trains of this era very, very interesting because once again, Buckethead's solo was like iconic, and I just think to myself like, man, I hope that they got a solo like that from him on Night Train, like on record. Like I hope they recorded it or something because it sounds that good. So it's always fun to watch his Night Train solos. I noticed Axl was like having extended jams on like Night Train and the final song Paradise City, and just really letting them go off and do whatever they wanted, like with the soloing. And it was interesting to just kind of think about Brain's mind, where he was at the time, like trying to get on time with Axl and like go as long as Axl wants and everything. So interesting extended jams on some of these songs. But like I said, the last song was Paradise City. That was the encore. And yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the appearance of the band members, because like I said, this is such a weird looking band. You got Robin Fink. I mean, Robin Fink he looked like a kind of like a bald alien or something from Nine Inch Nails. like, once again, I have so much respect for Robin Fink. I think he's a fantastic guitar player. I didn't take him seriously at first, and I do think to this day he's extremely goofy, but he is extremely talented. And I really love some of his solos on Chinese Democracy. But yeah, he looked really weird in this era. And then you got like Tommy Stinson. He would wear like I don't even know, like flannel looking like checkered pajamas and stuff at this time. Um, so he looked a little off too. And then of course you have Buckethead with the mask and the KFC bucket and everything. And then you have Brain. Brain's awesome. He's one of my favorite drummers of all time. But like I said, then you just have Axl looking so different with the braids, and I remember people would be like, "Oh, they're dreadlocks or they're cornrows." They were just braids. Um, but anyway, I really loved this era, and I loved what everybody looked like, even if it might have looked weird or funny. Um, but this was a great show overall. They had a lot of fire and pyro and like sparklers. I think about like during the November Rain solo that Buckethead nailed at the end. They definitely had some like sparklers and stuff. And that reminds me, something I did find a little funny is, like I said, they did November Rain 11th, and then they did Street of Dreams 14th. And when they did Street of Dreams, they brought Dizzy out on the front of the stage, and they brought the piano out again. And there was just that little extended time of them getting ready because they had to put the piano out there twice. And I just found it funny that they wouldn't do Street of Dreams like right before November Rain or right after November Rain if they're gonna take as long as they did to like get the piano out there. So I was just thinking like, man, it must have been kind of a pain to be like a GNR crew member in those days. And little stuff like that just like must have been like challenging and irritating at the time and tiring. But I thought Axl definitely sounded good. Obviously, he sounds better on the new, quote unquote, new songs at the time. And didn't sound as good on the old songs. But just compared to some of the stuff that we hear nowadays, to me, it's like good for his standards. But yeah, it was a cool show. It was just awesome to go blast in the past. Wish I could have seen them in this era. This tour ended up getting canceled like a little bit later on. They never even came to Florida. But it was just fascinating to kind of just dive back in and listen to this. It was only like an hour and a half, maybe a little bit over an hour and a half show. But it was super, super cool. If you've seen the show, what do you think? Have you ever seen them on this tour? If you did, you're very lucky because there weren't that many shows like this in Guns N' Roses history. What's your favorite Guns N' Roses song? Favorite Guns N' Roses album? What'd you think of this review? I would greatly appreciate your feedback. Hope you can comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.